The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. We're playing a road game this week, viewers and listeners. As you can see, I'm not in my normal studio. I am in a hotel room because I am out traveling. I am at a pretty terrific conference this week. Hanging out with some fantastic music professionals. I'm at the Association for Practical Music Education Conference. I'm here with friend of Break the Business, Bill Bolden. We're here basically putting together a music mentoring program that we created online, and we're working with some music schools to help bring mentors like the ones we have on Break the Business to deserving music students, and we're having a blast. And God, Memphis is fun. I've already had some of the best barbecue of my life here. I cannot even get out of my chair right now because of how much ribs and brisket I have eaten. I am more ribs and brisket than man at this point, and I would not have it any other way. This is going to be a great show this week. I'm so excited. Our guest coming up in the second segment, we are going to be joined by Kate Sheeran, the Dean of the Eastman School of Music at the University of Rochester. And if that name sounds familiar, if you're saying to yourself, Eastman School of Music, Break the Business, I feel like I've getting a little sense of deja vu here. It's because this is not the first time we have been graced with the presence of an Eastman School of Music person on this program. A few months ago, we had on Galen McCormick, the super talented, super inspiring faculty member and administrator at Eastman School, talking about the performing arts medicine program they have there. And this week on the show, we're moving even higher up the org chart because we got the dean of the Eastman School to talk about that program, to talk about the terrific music business programs they have at Eastman, and most importantly, just to give some advice to you viewers and listeners out there. Dean Sheeran is super knowledgeable, and I'm really excited for all of us to chat with her. That's going to be great. Our co-host this week joining us, always a pleasure when this gentleman joins us. Zach Sloan is here. Hi, Zach.
What up, Ryan?
What up, Zach? A pleasure to see you. Not sure why you have a giant Home Depot box next to you, but still happy to see your face.
Listen, don't say their name. They're not paying for that advertisement.
Don't give them that free pub.
I am helping a friend store some art. Their art is large, and that's literally the only place in my house it fits.
Well, I'm happy you're here in any version and with any objects behind you. We got some fantastic topics to talk about on this show with you, Zach. I know you're interested in what we got going on this week. But before we get into it, I think you had a podcast recommendation that you wanted to share with us in honor of Pride Month. I think this particular podcast sounds particularly fitting.
Yep, it's called Aging with Pride. It is a podcast about the joys and WTFs of aging queerly. It's hosted by Wendy Clay Alfredson and Debbie. I forget her last name. Sorry, Debbie, you're a friend of mine, and I apologize. But their most recent episode, the one that hit me to them, their guest is the bass player from Ryan Chris and the Rough Cuts, which if you're from Colorado, you should know them from being in the Colorado Country Music Hall of Fame. It's a cool interview with their bass player. It's a great podcast. Go check it out. They're dope.
Thanks very much for that. But obviously, get through this whole program that's in its entirety first this week. Make sure we get all the credits for you checking out the show. And then absolutely go check out Zach Sloan's podcast recommendation. Obviously want to support queer creators in honor of Pride Month.
Yep. And, it's just like when you're listening to Spotify, right? Listen to my song for 46 seconds, and then you can skip if you want. I don't care. I don't know. Is that still the payoff point, Ryan? I haven't checked in years.
Well, and I think you need at least 1,000 listeners now to do that, or you don't get any money. It's real weird.
This is why I don't like Spotify. Continue.
Programming note, I think producer Lauren needs a little bit more audio from you, Zach. Maybe just boost the gain a little bit. How's that, producer Lauren?
Is that better, Lauren?
I'm seeing approving nods.
I was gonna say I
sound
could use a little more,
I got
but yeah, I was being subtle. There goes subtlety. We're just gonna do it right on the air now.
Yeah, no, I get lots of feedback from this on this show from our viewers and listeners, always trying to make us better. And the one thing that they say without fail, it's almost unanimous, is they love production talk.
That's true.
Whenever we like do our levels live on the air in the middle of the show like this, it's their favorite part of the show. So we're just giving the people what they want.
You know, and I think if we need more of that, I forgot to put up my backdrop where I copy you. I can go get that, and we can spend 30 seconds watching me set that up if we would like.
Well, but I think if anything, you're just matching me again because you knew I was going to be out of the studio this week and not having my backdrop, so you don't have the matching backdrop either. Quit copying me.
I do it. I'm really just trying to torture you, Ryan.
Some pretty interesting news stories that I wanted to chat with you about this week before we bring in Dean Sheeran over at the Eastman School. The first is about the rise of the video platform. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Is it VO or do you say VEO? Whatever it is the new AI video platform that Google has come out with. And I don't want to specifically talk too much about the platform itself, mainly because I played around with it. I wasn't dazzled by it. I thought it was more goofy than anything else. People have shown some videos on it that kind of look cool or whatever. Like you type in a prompt and it can just make a video of it, but it's only 8 seconds long, whatever video prompts you give it. And like I gave it some video prompts and, I did one where it was, I want to see a video of an 8-year-old girl playing in a Major League Baseball game. And, the 8-year-old girl had 3 arms, like the pitcher throws the ball and 9 fielders come sliding in towards her. Like it was really weird and creepy. And the technology's got a lot of bugs. But the reason why I bring up VO is to talk about a rising trend that I think is more interesting than the platform itself right now, that creators are doing, in that they're using the rise of VO and the popularity of VO videos on platforms to basically pretend that their content is an AI-generated video. According to Ars Technica, a number of musicians are pretending to have AI-generated video content. Typically what they'll do is musicians are releasing videos where they might, it's just a video of them playing music, like their band is playing, and then they'll say in the caption, this video is AI generated using VO, but it's not. They're just telling people that it is to try to generate clicks, because I guess the idea is if your video can get comments on TikTok, it'll get more, it gets more boosts from the algorithm. So they want a bunch of people going into the comments and saying, that's not AI generated, come on. Or, man, that AI generated is pretty good. That looks just like a band playing in their garage. But, I mean, we've gotten to the point now, Zach, where AI videos have become so ubiquitous that musicians are pretending to do AI to get interest in their videos.
I refuse to acknowledge this trend is happening because it irritates me so much. I don't know, like, admittedly, Ryan, we've said this on the show, I'm a fairly old school thought of when it comes to being a musician, like a working musician. And my thing has always been like, play live, get good at that, and then do other stuff. So it drives me absolutely nuts when I see people like pretending that they're not doing something live when I'm like, no, that's what you should hang your hat on.
Yeah.
Like, be good live. Like, did you see the video of the band with the accordion player or whatever? Like,
yeah,
they were pretty good.
Yeah.
Why would you pass that off as something else? I don't know.
I mean, how much should we be laying the blame on musicians for doing kind of an admittedly silly piece of content when the blame should perhaps be laid on tech platforms that are rewarding this kind of silliness? In a perfect world, a band like the band that was in the Ars Technica article that was playing the accordion, in a perfect world, a band that's playing really well in their bedroom and there's an accordion player, that should be good enough on their own to get a boost from the algorithm to generate interest without having to do some gimmick like, oh, this is an AI generated video. Like that's the sad state of affairs we're in, that the algorithm is causing musicians to have to do that rather than just letting their art exist on its own merit and be successful.
I mean, that's a fair point, and I think I'm being a little facetious anytime I'm taking shots at the musicians and artists themselves. To me, this is the exact same thing as like when you're watching a YouTube video and they say, "Hey, if you disagree with me, comment below." It's like, I know what you're trying to do. I am well aware, and that's fine. Like if that's the game you got to play it. I guess this one just seems silly. Like it bothers me because it's annoying, not because it's bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that, and look, engagement farming is not a new concept, right?
Right.
I mean, it goes back all the way to like social media in the beginning of these platforms and everything, right? A like gets you a little bit of a boost on your post. A retweet gets you a little bit more of a boost. But the gold standard of what gets you the biggest love from the algorithm is if somebody takes the time to like hit that little comment thing and actually type something out. And that's the gold standard. That's the thing that gives you the juice. But it causes musicians and other creators to like do silly things to get you to open up that comment. I mean, the ones that really drive me crazy are when somebody will create a video that intentionally has a misspelling in it or a mispronunciation in it,
Yes.
or something in the video is not clear, or even just the whole concept of the video doesn't make sense. The whole point being it's a trick to get you to open up the comment bubble and, make you angry or make you frustrated and then write about that frustration. And all of that distances us further and further from just people making good content and the comment being, "Man, that's good. I enjoyed that. Nice work."
Which is why from now on, every video I start off with, I'm going to intentionally use the wrong there just to annoy the grammar people out there.
That's the move. Absolutely. I mean, it clearly works. And I mean, believe me, there's lots of things that AI is doing right now that really frighten me in terms of the future of entertainment. And the fact that it is creating a new way for certain creators to engagement farm is low on the list, but still nonetheless, not a great development. But, it is what it is. Oh, we lost Zach. You there?
I'm still.
Yep, there we are.
Here, stupid tech. It's a silly thing that's going on. It will pass because this like most fads will go away, and then I will make fun of something else in this circle. I think one thing that I am actually concerned about, Ryan, we've talked about this, is that as AI video gets better and better, using that to abuse other people still is a concern for me. But we've talked about that in previous episodes, legislation and such. That's where my head goes with all these things. But for this is just kind of comical.
I mean, I do fear that as well. Although again, and maybe I just had like a bad batch when I played with VO and tried to make videos with it. Maybe I gave it bad prompts, but like every video I made, like the best ones were just like below average videos that weren't very interesting. And the worst ones had like 8 baseball players diving after a disfigured 8-year-old girl playing in a baseball game. Like I don't see the value yet. And maybe, they're working on it, right? But like right now, they're just laughably far away from anything that could be, something that could replace video creators anytime soon.
Well, now I know what I'm using for my little 8-second clips I upload to Spotify and Apple Music that plays in the back of my song, are these ridiculous videos of baseball players with attacking people with 3 arms. I think that's what I'm going to start doing. Let's lean into the absurdity, Ryan.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Are just sort of like the distorted, like the Black Hole Sun music video. And like how all the faces looked like terrible. You remember when you were like 8 years old watching that video and how it gave you nightmares? Like that's everything that VO generates.
Oh my God. Now I think it's genius. We were wrong, Ryan. This is amazing.
Yeah. Gen Zers, if you haven't had the pleasure, your homework assignment, go watch the Black Hole Sun music video on YouTube. Your generation deserves to have nightmares the same way ours did by that music video.
And then watch Pearl Jam's Jeremy right after it, and so you'll never sleep again.
Oh, there you go. That's quite a
whole other
double
level.
whammy. See, we're losing recipes. We're missing out on the art of music videos because where are the music videos that just needlessly give people nightmares anymore?
That's true. What's Rob Zombie up to? Come on, Rob, we need you.
Now more than ever. All right, let's move on to our obligatory Taylor Swift story. We haven't talked about her in like 3 weeks, and whenever that happens, like I start to get the itches and the shakes. So, thankfully, we have a fantastic Taylor Swift story to talk about this week. She has bought her masters back. Her original first 6 albums, master recordings. This happened on May 30th. So a little bit of background for those who have been living under just a pile of rocks and don't know what's going on here. When Taylor Swift left her original record label, Big Machine, she was not able to take the copyrights in her original recordings with her. They stayed with the label, which was sold to Scooter Braun, who then sold the interest in her masters to Shamrock Capital, a hedge fund type entity. They're buying all the IP these days. And this was obviously very depressing for Taylor Swift. She really wanted to own those masters. They meant a lot to her. But about this was what, like 3-4 years ago, Zach, that she did this? She did one of the most ultimate gangster moves in all of music industry, certainly in the modern industry, where she said, okay, fine. If you're not going to sell me my masters, I'm going to re-record every single one master at a time. And because my fans love me, they're only going to listen to the new versions of these masters, which are going to make your masters that you own, the old masters, worthless. And the plan has worked. She's only gotten about 3 masters into this re-recording project. And already, the value of these masters have collapsed so much that she was able to buy them back from Shamrock, because she's basically the only person who would want them at this point. Because they're not valuable to anybody else but her, as long as she can make new masters. Right. And so, ultimate gangster move. She wound up not only getting her masters back, which is pretty awesome, but was able to release new versions of these masters that themselves are making money and are becoming successful and are reintroducing her music to a new generation of artists. And in the process, had this massive impact on just the way that record deals are done now, because now every record label doesn't want to be the next one that this happens to. So they're all putting long re-recording restriction clauses in their agreements so that you can't pull a Taylor Swift and re-record your music right after you're done with your record deal. But they couldn't stop Taylor Swift, and now she's got the money, she's got the new masters that are successful, and she got her old masters back. I love it for her.
This was so in the media forefront. My wife heard about it before I did. I came home and I was checking the news. I was like, whoa, Taylor Swift got her masters back. She's like, I know. I was like, oh, crap. Annette knows. She doesn't care about any of this stuff. What is interesting to me, and it was mentioned in that Billboard article, is that Taylor Swift, in doing all of this, also educated the general public about how royalties are paid and what ownership of masters means. And that opened up the door for other artists to do the same thing. And I thought that was an interesting point that I had not considered. Was that not only did Taylor pull this ultimate gangster move, as you so eloquently put it, she also took it as a teachable moment and taught the general public about how record contracts work. I have had 6th and 7th graders who can explain to me in great detail why she did what she did with her masters. And I think that's really cool. So kudos, Taylor. You're a great songwriter. Today, I also want to celebrate you as one of the most savvy business people in the world.
What a wonderful legacy among everything else that she's done, that she's creating a generation of young Swifties who are as knowledgeable about music copyright as at least a third-year IP lawyer. That's fabulous. I absolutely love that. I didn't know what a master recording was when I was a teenager. This is so cool that she's doing this sort of thing. There are some skeptics out there who said that the only reason why she really wanted to buy her masters is because she was getting to the point in her catalog where she was going to have to start re-singing her old Joe Alwyn love songs. And she was just like, nah, screw that. I saw a TikTok video where somebody was pretending to be Taylor Swift and she was singing one of these Joe Alwyn love songs, and she couldn't do it. She just goes, Travis, get my checkbook.
Okay, that's funny. I doubt that's true, but it is hilarious.
It's 10% true.
Didn't she already re-release Dear John though? I feel like she's done the craziest ones already. I could be wrong on that. I'm not up to date on exactly what Taylor's versions albums are out. But I do think it's also fantastic that we can crack jokes about her spending millions and millions upon millions of dollars just because she doesn't want to re-record a song. Like, good on her for having that, because it's believable, right? Like, maybe it's not worth her time to actually re-record it when she should just buy them back. So, go Taylor.
But since we're talking about the education of masters, I think it is important to impart the lesson in all of this for artists is when you're getting involved in your own music projects, whether you're working with a label or a distributor or anybody, Taylor Swift is showing you that it is important to hold on to the copyright in the things that you create. These master recordings and the copyrights that come in them are very valuable, right? You can license those things and get licensing fees. You can sell copies of those and get money for that. And if you own those things, you get to decide how that music's used and you get paid first. If you're signed to a record label where they own your masters, they get to decide how your music is exploited. And rather than you getting paid as the copyright holder, you only get paid a tiny, tiny, tiny royalty of the money that music generates. And usually that tiny royalty can often be zero because those royalties have to recoup whatever money the label says you owe them. And so instead of doing all of that and going through the heartbreak that Taylor did for so many years until she had the money to buy them back, own your masters from the beginning. Don't get involved in record deals or anybody that's going to try to own your IP. Own it yourself, get paid first, and have full control over your music's destiny.
I mean, it also begs the question of how. So let me ask you this, Ryan. You're the entertainment lawyer here.
So they tell me.
If a new artist is coming to you and they have a offer from a major or any label, how do they negotiate out of this? Is this something that a label is willing to negotiate on anymore? Or is this sort of a contract of adhesion where they take it or leave it, but this is going to be required? Sorry, contract of adhesion. That's a nerd term. It means it's a take it or leave it offer. Sorry, people. My bad. Explain, Ryan, how do you negotiate these things?
I love so much more. Instead of us calling them lawyer terms, we're just going to call them nerd terms from now on. Yes, that was quite a nerd term, pulling out contract of adhesion there. If you had asked me this question pre-Taylor Swift and this whole saga, I would say owning masters for a new artist in a record deal is a 100% no-go. Really? But today, post this whole Taylor Swift thing, and with artists becoming more, and with the rise of platforms like CD Baby that can distribute your music without owning your masters, artists are becoming more knowledgeable and sophisticated. And you're seeing more and more, at least with the indie labels, a greater tolerance for perhaps allowing for some flexibility on the copyright ownership. Some labels will let you own the masters, and then you license those masters. What I'm more able to negotiate now than I used to be 5 years ago is like a clawback where it's like, okay, for the first 10 years, the label owns it, but then that copyright gets transferred to the artist. And so the artist gets it back. So it's like, label, you get 10 years to own this thing and do whatever you want with it. But then after that, I get to keep them. And most labels are willing to agree to that because unless you're talking about a Taylor Swift album, most copyrights will achieve most of their value within the first 5 years of its existence, right? After that, the tail shortens unless you're talking about like one of these big-time legacy recordings. And so depending on the situation, depending on how much leverage the artist has, you might be able to agree to that. Now, the one danger you need to watch out for, since you brought this up, Zach, because I've seen this a few times with clients, is what I would like to call the copyright ownership, but not really. I've had a couple artists where labels have approached them and said, we want you to own your masters. In fact, we're going to do a co-ownership where the label and you, the artist, own the master. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
I'm already suspicious.
Oh, as well you should be, right? Because like the moment you hear a label doing something nice, your spidey sense should already start tingling.
Anytime a major business is like, let's do this thing together, I'm like, there's got to be. Tell me the catch, Ryan.
Okay, so here's the catch. So the devil was in the details on this one, right? Because they told my client, you're going to co-own your master with us. And she was all excited. Oh my God, this is so great. I'm happy. But the devil was in the details, right? Because I actually opened up the contract. And, the first page was all about how the artist owns the master. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And then you get to like page 38 of 152, where it talks about the circumstances of how the masters will be owned. And what it said in the deal was, yes, the artist and the label own the master together, but the artist agrees that the label gets to decide what to do with this album in perpetuity exclusively, and gets to and does not share the income generated by the copyright with the artist, except for the artist's royalties in perpetuity. And so when I saw this language, I called up the lawyer for the record label and said, okay, the two main things you get when you own a copyright are being allowed to do what you want to do with the music, and getting a piece of like a percentage of the revenue of the music, or getting all the revenue of the music. You've written both of those things out of this contract. And so I was like, be real with me. What is my client actually getting? Because it sounds like they only have copyright ownership in name. And the lawyer said, well, when we make the little C with the circle around it in the copyright notice, your client's name will be there right next to our name.
That's the worst answer possible. Just lie to me at that point.
Well, no, because at that point they knew like my artist wanted to sign and but it was literally like that. It was basically just a copyright ownership in name because they had contracted out all of the benefits of the copyright ownership. And I think labels are going to start doing that more and more now because they're going to tell the artist, oh, we're going to make you the next Taylor Swift and you're going to own your masters. And then they're going to contract out all the good things about copyright ownership so that you get nothing for it except you can tell people that you own your masters, which is technically legally true, but doesn't have any actual benefit for the artist.
Oh my God. If I ever have the idea of a label saying something like, we're going to make you the next Taylor Swift, that just makes my skin crawl. Because you know who made the next Taylor Swift? Taylor Swift. I don't know if the label had a whole lot to do with her fantastic songwriting. Okay, right. I have one more follow up on this, and then we can move on.
Yeah, go for it.
When these negotiations are happening, because I like to get in the nuts and bolts a little bit. When these negotiations are happening, at what point does the label do exactly like you said, where they have the feel that the artist is probably going to take the deal because they really just want to be signed, and what level of leverage does that actually give the label in those types of negotiations? Is it astronomical? Am I overstating it? What's your thought here?
You're saying like when the label has sort of gotten the artist to fall in love with the idea of being a signed artist, what leverage does it give them? The answer is it gives them all the leverage. Oftentimes when an entertainment lawyer representing the artist is in an artist label negotiation, it can often feel like it is you on one side and the artist and the label on the other side negotiating against you. You're trying to the artist is emailing you why haven't you closed this deal yet? And it's I haven't closed this deal because I'm trying to protect you more than you're trying to protect yourself. But I don't blame the artist for feeling that way, right? It's an emotional thing for them. They want to get signed. They see this label as the thing that's going to make their dreams come true, even though statistically they almost always don't make your dreams come true, or at least not make them come true in the way that you would want or expect them to. But you get the stars in your eyes. But that's why you hire a lawyer in those situations, because we're the neutral party. I don't take a contingency on record deals. It's my own personal thing. Some lawyers are I want to take a percentage of all the money you make from your record deal forever and ever. I don't do that because I want to have a completely clear head where if I don't think it's a good deal, I want to tell you and be able to say, I don't think this is a good deal. And I don't want to be incentivized to tell you that a bad deal is a good deal because I want to get a piece of your royalties if you sign. And so I'm often trying to talk artists out of bad deals, even though they want that deal to happen. And it can often feel like I'm fighting with the artist and the label to get a deal done.
I was afraid you would say that. During my time in employment law, I often encountered the same thing where I was like, am I the only? Okay, I guess I'm just trying to convince you to not get sued. Cool. Yeah, that's On the one hand, disheartening, Ryan, but on the other hand, I think is also kind of reasonable. I understand why artists, like, they see the deal, they see the contract, and they want to sign it. I can understand that too.
But can I say this to end this segment on a hopeful note? These conversations that I have with artists have become more of a rarity in the last few years. As models like commercial distributors, like your CD Babies, your DistroKids, your TuneCores, are coming out, as artists are realizing they don't have to give all of their master rights to a record label to be a successful artist, as all of these new tech platforms emerge that are creating empowering resources for artists, as podcasts like this one and other informational platforms are out there to give artists information about the dangers of these kind of deals. I'm not having as many artists come to me and say, I want to get a record deal done at any cost. I don't care what the terms are. I just want to sign this deal. And so that, to me, is the most positive development of all, that as crappy as those conversations always are for me, I'm not having them as much as I used to, because artists are getting smarter, they're getting more empowered, and they're getting more independent. We love to see it.
Beautiful.
Yes, indeed. Let us take a break. We're going to be joined by our guest, Kate Sheeran of the Eastman School of Music. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business.
Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show.
Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Zach Sloan. Viewers and listeners, I want to impart to you the massive sacrifice I am making for all of you because I love you, being here doing this podcast right now. Let it be known that not 100 feet from my hotel room here in Memphis is the famous Peabody Hotel in Memphis, where I have been told by a friend of Break the Business, Bill Bolden, who I'm here on this trip with, that there is an amazing blues concert happening at the Peabody Hotel, just steps from my hotel room. And it's mind-blowing, and that I'm missing it because of this podcast. And also, I found out that the Peabody Hotel is the famous hotel. I don't know if people have seen YouTube videos of this. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube videos of this, Zach. It's the hotel that every day has the ducks that get out of the elevator and like waddle across the lobby every day at like the same time.
Oh, nice.
And so that's happening right out. And so I'm missing the duck parade and some really good blues music because I love our viewers and listeners, and I want to make sure that they're getting the info they need here on Break the Business. But I'm thinking about the ducks. My head's in the ducks right now.
Well, you're missing the Lucky Seven brass band, so that's what Bill's talking about.
Why did you have to tell me that?
Well, you're missing out, dude. But whatever, you're here with us.
In all seriousness, I ain't missing out on a dang thing. I'm so excited to be here with you. We got a fantastic show to close out with. And just before we get into our guest interview, did want to, as always, extend our gratitude to all of the various broadcasting partners that make this show possible. Our friends at SiriusXM 145, love you for giving us a satellite radio home. Volume.com, our live streaming partner. You guys rock. And all of you viewers and listeners, wherever you check us out, whether it's on the podcasting platforms, on Volume, on YouTube, on Twitch, on SiriusXM. Wherever you are enjoying this program, we're so glad that you are. And all we ask, the simple act of reciprocity that you could give us if you feel like you need to give us something in return, just tell a friend about the show. Let them know what we're doing. Help us grow this community out. Maybe email us, send us, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'd very much appreciate it, and we very much appreciate you. Let's go ahead and bring out our guest this week.
From the halls of Eastman, she brings the sound where music grows and dreams are found. Kate Sheeran's here, a guiding light, with wisdom shining oh so bright. Oh, Dean Sheeran, the stage is yours, leading the way, opening doors with passion strong. The future's clear. Let's break the business. The time is here.
Our guest this week is the Dean of the Eastman School of Music at the University of Rochester. The Eastman School was ranked as one of the top music business schools by Billboard and has spearheaded a wide range of music initiatives in the fields of performing arts medicine, film and media composition, and music community outreach. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting esm.rochester.edu. We are happy to welcome Kate Sheeran on to Break the Business. Hello, Dean Sheeran. How are you?
Hey Ryan, hey Zach, how are you? I'm doing fine. I didn't know I was going to get my own song there. That was pretty exciting.
Of course. It's the very least we can do for somebody that we are just so excited to be talking to. I don't know how much of what you heard from the first segment, but we are big fans of the Eastman School. We think it's, so many great programs happening under one roof. And we talked a little bit about it, but we'd love to hear straight from you. Tell us a bit about what makes the Eastman School so special.
Well, I think there's a lot of things, for me, it starts with our students. We have about 900 fantastic young musicians who learn at Eastman every day. They're performing and learning in all kinds of classes, but the way they combine their own imagination with what they're learning to do on a day-to-day basis really inspires me. And of course, they're taught by world-renowned faculty, some of the most amazing musicians in the business who are in residence teaching our students. And then there's also, the legacy of what's happened at Eastman and who's come through. So we have musicians who populate all different kinds of ensembles, who play and compose film scores, who run organizations, who play on albums like Taylor Swift. We have Eastman alumni there. So we're everywhere, and it's kind of a backbone of the music industry. So it's a really inspiring place to be on a day-to-day basis.
Inspiring is definitely the right word, especially when I think about your Performing Arts Medicine Center. A few months ago, we had the pleasure of speaking with your colleague, Galen McCormick, from the Eastman School, who talked all about this really innovative, really enriching, really just important program. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you all do in the medical space with music?
Sure. I mean, it's such a great example of, what a music school can do embedded within a major research university. And this is such a fantastic collaboration with our medical center and our medical school. It's a set of initiatives that studying all kinds of things. We have a study going on right now about combating cognitive decline in older adults through learning piano. I mean, the early outcomes are really amazing already. We have musicians. So there's all kinds of research that's happening. There are musicians who play in healthcare settings, and we train our students and other musicians to do that. And we get so much great feedback about how that really brings solace or joy in moments that are really necessary. And we're constantly looking for where we're finding these connections to also help prove the case of the arts and music and why they're so important to humanity. So I'm really excited to continue to build out that research.
Now, Kate, I'm here at Memphis at the Association of Popular Music Education Conference. So I'm getting to hang around with a bunch of Kate Sheerans, a lot of really terrific music faculty and administrators at the higher ed level. And one of the big topics that's going around this conference right now is the work that music schools are doing to train students for careers in the music industry? Obviously, the music business major is becoming increasingly popular at music schools, and just teaching students about the music business, music entrepreneurship. And, the Eastman School has been recognized as one of the leaders in that particular subset of music education. Interested in just hearing some of your philosophies about what role you think that music schools should play when it comes to teaching students about the music industry. Is this something that you should just sort of leave to the music business major? Are you teaching all of your students that study music a little bit of music business?
Yeah, there's so many ways that happens at Eastman. I don't know any musician who hasn't had to call on some business skill, right? Whether you end up in an orchestra or whether you have a recording contract, whether you're working in a school, we all have to have this knowledge. At Eastman, close to 30 years ago, there was a program started called Arts Leadership. I actually participated in that program when I was a student, when it was just starting, and it's grown into a whole area of our school called the Institute for Music Leadership. And that's where there are courses in everything from fundraising and finances to marketing and copyright and some of the issues you were talking about earlier, music and the law. So our students can take those courses, and it's also a place where people can go for counseling or mentorship or learning all different kinds of ways to engage in the field of music. So for us, it's really one of our core values, and we're always getting excited about what's next in those areas to make sure we're complementing the performing skills or the music skills we're teaching our students.
So I have a question, and this is of the utmost importance, Kate. In your intro music,
Oh, come on.
how much French horn could you layer atop of that? And what would you do to make it just a little bit more you? Because, see, I actually went and listened to some of your stuff. You're quite the player yourself.
Well, at different points in my career, I've played on some cool albums that I'm happy to be a part of. What song doesn't need a nice horn descant, right? Like,
Thank you.
Think of like Sam Cooke, "A Change Is Gonna Come." The horn part makes that. There's so many great moments. Or "Can't Always Get What You Want," Rolling Stones.
Yes.
The horn part makes it. Yeah.
So, how do you use your experience as a performer? Because being a performer is one thing.
Yeah.
Being a dean is drastically different.
Yeah.
How did you bridge the gap there?
Well, it's an interesting week to ask this question because we have a whole convening of music leaders from higher ed and various other school levels who are at Eastman this week, and we're having a whole conference on leadership. So I did a whole talk on the parallels of being a musician and being a leader. And there's all kinds of things. One of the things that always stands out for me is empathy, right? Because the arts teach you empathy in so many different ways. It's been studied. People who are playing in ensembles or singing choirs at some point in life have more empathy or trait empathy. But what that teaches you is to put yourself in other people's shoes. And the more you can put yourself in other people's shoes, the more you can figure out what they need. And that's really what my job is, to figure out what other people need, both while they're in school, whether they're teacher or student, and for our students, what they will need afterwards.
And see, you're hitting all the questions in my little book here. What are the things you're noticing your graduates need after they leave? What's the number one thing that they're struggling with, or the holes you're trying to fill over there?
I think some of the things we talked about with business skills are certainly one of them. They need connection, right? They need to know what to do next. And it's the balance of like the larger picture with stepwise motion. And I think in music, often we are waiting for the perfect thing. The perfect thing doesn't exist. And so it's training that instinct to take the next thing, which leads to the next thing, which leads to the next thing. And so that's something you really just learn by doing. But the more we can talk about it, and I think the more we can talk about every individual path, because no one's path to becoming a musician or working in music is the same. But we don't talk about that enough. So the more we can connect students with people and who can guide them on their way, tell the different stories of how they made it, I think that's really important. I'm thinking about all these types of things for students because we just had commencement and you're trying to think of what's the best advice for students. But one of the things I kept coming back to is trust your instincts. Like, that's what made you an artist in the first place. Trust your gut. If something feels like it's the right thing, it probably is. If it's something feels like an opportunity you want to create for yourself, go for it. Why not?
And Ryan, I think you've done some work bridging that gap between helping people helping musicians sort of take next steps or find mentors, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the reason why we're here at this conference to get music schools answering that exact question about how you can connect your students with professionals in the industry. And as you noted, Kate, to expose them to the wide range of career options that exist for music students. I was talking to my friend Bill Bolton about this, who I'm here on the trip with, and asked him, because he was a music school grad, why is that particular subject area most important to you? And he said, well, because when I graduated from music school 15 years ago, I left with the impression that the only two jobs that were available to me were the Philharmonic and Taylor Swift. Like, you're either a pop star or first chair at the London Phil. And I didn't know about all of the other career opportunities that were available to me because my music school didn't do enough to expose me to that world that was out there. And not necessarily a knock on that school, right? Because they might not have had the resources, the capabilities, and the connections to find those opportunities. And it creates a unique challenge for folks in your position, Kate, because you're trying to prepare them for an industry and the future of that industry when that future is changing faster than it ever has, right? The music industry is changing so quick. And so how does your faculty, how do your programs keep up with like an industry that's evolving very, very quickly?
I think at different times in music, this is, the pace is faster or slower, but it's always been evolving, right? And so this is sort of the question, maybe now because of technology or AI, the pace is even faster, but sort of the constant question. I think it's the balance of what are the things that are always the same, right? Like the ways we teach instruments, the ways we teach people to learn music theory or compose, that the basic skills stay the same. And that's sort of grounding while we're introducing all kinds of other topics and exploring things and really tapping into curiosity and how do we calibrate to taking risks and all those types of things. So a student asked me when I started in the fall, well, I heard there's 2 ways to be a dean. I said, oh, really? I didn't know. What are they? Tell me.
No.
And they said, one way is to throw everything out. You do everything new. And the other way is to keep everything the same. And I said, well, I think our job is to balance both. I have to know enough about the industry to make sure that we have enough things that are educating you about where things could go, but we have to ground you in the things that we know you'll need that have always been the same. And our students are going to create the future of the industry, and that's a little scary for them at this moment, but in truth, it's super exciting. So we're planting the seeds and we don't exactly know how they're going to grow, but we know we're giving them enough skills and we aim to give them enough knowledge and curiosity to move it forward.
Well, speaking of the knowledge that you're imparting, I'm wondering if you could share a little wisdom with our viewers and listeners. I have heard you quoted before as a phrase that you like to say to others, and it's certainly one that we endorse here at this podcast. Is the idea of don't wait for the perfect opportunity.
Yep.
Take the opportunities you can and learn from them. Can you elaborate on that? And maybe is that advice sort of the product of personal experience that you've had in your own life?
Yeah, it is. And so many of my friends and colleagues, right, where we've taken twists and turns in the path that we didn't expect, which have actually led to exactly where we're supposed to be. And I think it's this thing where, going back to what your colleague said, that we think there's one way or another way to go in music, and it's not. It's like this the whole time. That's often the best part. But yeah, it's my own experience as well. I'm a horn player, as we talked about, and after graduate school, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I was going to take a year off. Turned out that I moved to a rural area with my friends who had started a new music ensemble, and it's called Alarmal Sound. It's now 25 years old. You can hear them. And we helped set up a residency at a college. And after a year, I was going to go back to school and thought I'd pursue the faculty route in music schools and things like that. But in that year, I was playing, I was teaching, I was helping set up this residency, I was helping this group form, and it felt like a better fit for me. So I ended up doing more of those things than what I originally thought. Now, had I not taken this turn just because I thought it was time to take a year away from school, my path could have been completely different. But I feel like I've ended up where I'm supposed to be, which oddly enough, is right back where I started.
That's an interesting notion, and it does sort of run against what we're often imparting to young people, right? Which is, keep moving forward. Don't get quote unquote sidetracked. Stay the course. Don't take a year off. Don't try to, don't fly off on a flight of fancy. But I think what your story suggests is you can learn from those moments. If you see a cool opportunity that maybe isn't on the path that you always laid out for yourself, you can take advantage of that opportunity. You might experience new things, or it might take you right back to where you always were meant to be, but now you had this other cool experience. Great piece of advice that a music professor once told me was, if you want to make God laugh, make plans. It's not going to always turn out exactly the way you planned, because the other plan that might come from a better opportunity could be there, and you should take advantage of it, because it might take you to an awesome place, or it might take you to where you always planned to be, but that was always the way you were going to get there.
Right. And musicians are used to this. Like we try out how to play a line in a million different ways before we get to the one we want, or we're workshopping lyrics, or we're, changing around the piece we're composing. It's the same thing, right? Art isn't yes or no or pass or fail. Neither are artistic careers. So if we tap into what we've calibrated as creative people, it actually helps us on our way and kind of helps us feel okay about the risks or the bumps in the road that might come up.
Well, since you had brought up AI, I'd love to get the perspective of a higher ed person in terms of what you're thinking about the impacts of AI, and you can take this in a lot of different directions, right?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, I'm a college professor myself, and certainly I'm sweating a bit about what AI means in terms of students that are submitting projects that are clearly completed with the assistance of a chat GPT, for example. And so that's giving me pause and kind of causing me to recalibrate my approach to education. And also, I can't help but think about the impacts that AI is going to have when my students enter the workforce, specifically those that are going into creative fields, and they're looking at platforms like VO, for example, and the videos it's making, and are saying, is that going to be something that is going to replace me as a creator, or should I take a more optimistic route, which is the one I tend to subscribe to, which is this is going to be a tool that's going to empower me. This is going to be something that's going to help take me to the next level, in the same way that all the major tech innovations in music didn't replace musicians, but allowed them to get to higher planes.
Yeah, I understand your first perspective, and obviously there's lots of cautionary tales of things, especially in the classroom, and things we need to address. But I agree with your second point the most, right? That this is like any tool. It's like when we stopped having copyists write everything by hand and instead using music notation software. It was scary. Those are people's jobs, right? It was a big change for the industry, and that's not to be taken lightly. But we evolved, right? And this, if we're not harnessing the power of it, we're not doing our jobs. If we're not learning everything we can about it, we're not doing our jobs. It's one of the things, we have a big conversation going on about it at the university, and collaborations with our engineering school, and working with people who are engaging in AI and building new tools in all kinds of creative ways. And so I'm really excited about our students getting more involved in those conversations to, again, harness the power of it and take it forward.
Well, I mean, if there's any school that seems particularly well suited to lean into this, it's a school like Eastman that's already big on interdisciplinary initiatives. Like, right, you're already working with the medical school and the business school. Like, why not get the engineers in and help your students transition to an AI future better?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of, I've been lucky to work at a lot of wonderful places. At the last two where I was were independent music organizations and music schools. And so it was part of my drive to come back to Rochester, is to be as part of a research university, so we can really dig into these topics and build the future.
Well, and since we're talking about build the future, I'm curious, what do music schools like Eastman look like in 10 years with all the technology that's happening, with the industry changing the way it is?
I think some of the things you were talking about are true. I think as we look at new programs and new initiatives. We have a big conversation about collaborative programs across some of the schools I was just talking about, and designing what new majors might be there and how those students engage with the students that are in the traditional performance path or composition. Our film scoring program, our Beal Institute, is now 10 years in, is one of our most popular programs. So it tells you that students are hungry for programs at the nexus of music and technology. So we have lots of conversations to have there, but I'm about 11 months in, so stay tuned. We'll have more coming.
That was pretty unfair of me to make you lay out your 10-year plan, and you haven't even picked out the color of the drapes for your office yet. Our guest has been Kate Sheeran, the Dean of the Eastman School of Music at the University of Rochester. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting esm.rochester.edu. Kate, this has been an absolute treat. I know how busy this time of year can get with commencement and just, trying to close out the academic year. We are so thrilled that you made time to come on this program. We had so much fun with you. Before we let you go, we got one last question for you.
Okay.
Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
I think there's all kinds of practical tips, but the most, when you think of the most interesting musicians that we all know, like the ones that come to mind, they're the people who've tapped into what the story is that they're trying to tell and really leaned into their own individuality and their own artistry. So that's where I come back to, I said before, trust your gut. Yeah, I think that's a big one. Really listen to your own instincts and carve out your own artistry.
That's fantastic advice. Kate, this has been a pleasure. Don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you on again real soon. And if you can send us more of your fantastic faculty and administration to come by and visit us as well. We love the Eastman School. Thank you so much. Our thanks to Kate Sheeran. Our thanks to Zach Sloan and producer Lauren. And thanks to all of you viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.